Hi, Questers. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you can hear me. I had to reconnect a few things and haven't had a chance to test it. Hopefully you can hear me okay, because that's what's important. Okay, so earlier on I just watched a new live that was on, and it was outstanding. I had quite a few in the panel that was on. So let me just see if there we go. It's better. More center screen. So yeah, it was an interesting one about Stargate, and yeah, had Brad Wright in it, which is outstanding. The creator of Stargate. I mean, it's insane, and it was really good. Live stream. I wasn't in it, obviously, because I'm not quite big enough to merit that attention. But one day, maybe one day I will be. Who knows? I'm in the process of setting up a PayPal because, yeah, need some support, guys. That's all. And hopefully, yeah, you know, what's horrible white stuff on my arm, and I don't know where it's come from. No, it's not dandruff. See, it's not brushing off. It's not dandruff. I wish it was, because I don't want marks on this shirt, because it's one of my favorite ones. It's a Planetary Union shirt from Orville, which is an outstanding show, by the way. But yeah, that live I was watching earlier was really good. Really was. There's a few outstanding channels and TikTokers that were involved, and yeah, it was really good, really good. And Sci-Trek, they had 15 minutes with Brad Wright, as well as the others had 15 minutes as well, which was really good. There was others. I mean, Gateworld was there. Yeah, Gateworld was there as well, and among others. And yeah, it was really good. Like I say, let's see if I can bring up something. It was a Stargate collaboration, and it was set up by the Companion, and Brad Wright is involved with the Companion, which is really good. So yeah, Matt and Jay were there from Sci-Trek. We also had Rebecca and I think it was it Christine from yeah, it was Christine, Athena Tano from, and Rebecca from what was it, Three Fries Short podcast, which I've actually recently joined, well, followed at least. And we also had David from Dial the Gate and Darren from GateWorld.net. It was hosted by the Companion, Lawrence Cow. I don't know how to pronounce it. I mean, it's one of those names. And yeah, they had Brad Wright, and it was an outstanding one. But Matt Dean from Sci-Trek told Brad to shut up. But to be fair, Brad told him to shut up first. We know, those of you that know about what is this? Anyway, those of you that know about Sci-Trek and have watched it, that you know that there's this thing going on where where Matt and everyone tells Matt gets told to shut up, basically, and it's really good. I love watching them do. They're really good at what they do, and I love it. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way before I start talking about science fiction franchises. Now, this is going to be an awkward one because a lot of people like certain franchises, and I don't like all of them. The franchises that I like or love are the Stargate franchise. I consider myself a bit of a Trekkie, but in whole, I'm more of a general sci-fi fan. So anything sci-fi, I'll watch it. If it's bad, if it's like Secret Invasion, which is technically sci-fi-ish but terrible, then one episode, didn't watch the rest. I think many people held the same opinion, to be honest. But yeah, like I say, I hope you can hear me. I've had to move a few things around, so some of the cables may have. Yeah, that's all right. So hopefully you can hear me anyway. So, seeing as we had that live earlier talking about Stargate, let's talk a little bit about Stargate, shall we? And now, by far, what they're claiming is the sleeping giant. Yeah, it's definitely a sleeping giant, and I am looking forward to seeing some new stuff. And Cat's just jumped up on the desk, so he's going to be a bit of a pain. I knew I should have closed the bloody door. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, this is Blue. I've had him for nearly 10 years now, I think. 10 years. Wow, it's crazy. Hey, bud. Anyway, I hope he's not going to be too much of a bother. He's actually been indoors more lately than he usually is, which is good. It's nice to have him where I can see him, but most of the time he's out sleeping anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Stargate. Now, I had a thought months ago about how to save the Destiny, and something that Brad said actually made me think that I may have been right about his plan for Destiny in universe. But I'm going to do a video about that I'm going to spend some time tomorrow making that video, and I might release it Monday as a premiere and see what you guys think. But yeah, so Stargate is. The first 3 seasons of Stargate, it was a little bit slow, but they were world building, character building, and just genuinely just getting it to where they needed it to be. So when season 3 started, I think it was when season 3 started. Like with most shows or franchises, that's when it picks up, because it's built up a fan base, and now people are tuning into it properly, and there's not those people that are just coming in and finding it. Now, I knew about SG1 through adverts on the TV, but like I've said before in a video, I never really had a chance or a position where I could actually watch it when it came out on TV. So I didn't actually start watching it until it had been out for 4 or 5 years, I think. But once I had access to the internet, I ended up watching the whole thing. So, yeah. Yes, I had to do certain questionable things to do it, but I managed it, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I own the first 8 seasons. I never got around to buying 9 and 10 on DVD. I might still do that, but I've got 2 seasons of Atlantis on DVD. But with streaming services, why do we need DVDs anymore? I mean, I know DVDs are good because you buy it once and you've got it for the rest of your life, don't you? Really, but with streaming services, you have to pay the fee. But here's what people don't understand: is Amazon is talking about a free Stargate channel. So it's likely that we're not going to have to subscribe to Amazon in order to watch it. It's very likely that it will be available to everyone globally free, essentially. But at the same time, they're talking about the MGM Plus channel. Blue, you're a pain in the butt. You really are. I've fed you before this as well. All right, let me just see what he wants. I'll be back in a second. Come on. You won't let me get up. Come on, out of the way. Come on. There we go. I did. Right. Sorry about that. Hopefully that'll keep him out of the way now. Because all he does is crawl backwards and forwards and around on my lap. And it's not something I wanted during live video. But right, now it's sorted, hopefully. Right. So where was I? Still talking about Stargate. Ah, yes, right. Well, because MGM Plus. Now, I can see what they're doing with MGM Plus at Amazon, but I'm questioning it because I already pay for Prime, right? Many of you do. And I don't know if I'm going to actually be able to, pay the extra for MGM Plus or any extra channels that may be on Prime as a result. So I don't like the idea. But at the same time, if it's MGM Plus in the US, but then it's on Prime for the rest of the world, that might work. But at the same time, you're asking Americans to pay twice to watch it, right? So at what point will the new show or movie be free to watch on Prime or through Prime? That would be a good question to ask when it comes to it. And, I always hated the way they ended Universe, because the way they ended Universe was with Eli standing there with that musical score, which it brought a tear to my eye. I don't know about you guys, but it did bring a tear to my eye because, it's Eli. He's one of the most lovable characters in Universe, right? I don't know any other character in Universe that was as lovable. Especially with what happened with Gin. It was Gin, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Gin. Which was a shame, really. It would have been nice to, to have seen a lot more. But obviously, at the time, they, when they ended Universe, they were told that it was over. But at least they were told, because with SG-1 and Atlantis, Blue's come back. What are you doing? Right. Hopefully he'll stay there. But yeah. Why are you doing this to me tonight, huh? Why tonight? Why tonight? You can't see on. We'll just stroking. Right. You're a pain. Anyway, where was I? Universe. Right. Because with SG-1, I think even Brad said earlier that they weren't expecting SG-1 to end like that. So, because there were 2 other movies planned, and he actually talked about that in the live. What I might do is I might put in the description below, I might actually put the link to that original live video with the companion. I might just put that on for the Sidetrack channel, or maybe just I might do the companion channel actually. I'll think about it and do it anyway. But yeah, I could talk about Stargate for ages, but because this is about franchise, favorite sci-fi franchise, it's hard to say because there are so many. Out the top ones are obviously Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars, and Babylon 5, right? They're the top 4 Stargate sci-fi franchises. Stargate. That's because I started with Stargate. But at the same time, there are others that people probably don't remember. Some from the 80s that would have been really good as a franchise. Movie wise, how many movies or shows does there have to be for it to become a franchise, right? I mean, does a two movie feature become a franchise like Pitch Black? Not Pitch Black, sorry. That's completely different to what I was thinking. Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim. They've had two movies. Is that considered a franchise? Independence Day's had two movies. Is that a franchise? But at the same time, Pacific Rim had the animated show, which I think is still on Netflix, and it was let's see, the stain from me quitting smoking is already disappearing, which is awesome. But as it had an animated series on Netflix, does that make it a franchise because it's had the series as well? Or I think there was like two seasons of that. I think that would make Pacific Rim a franchise, right? So I'm going to go with anything that has a sequel. A direct sequel can be considered a franchise. So that means Independence Day is a franchise because it had the sequel, which wasn't as good as the first one. But then I don't really like the Independence Day movie anyway. But that's besides the point. So it's going to be hard to decide which one's my favorite. It really is. Because to be honest, I don't think I have one. So I really shouldn't have titled this video as favorite sci-fi franchise. It's been really, really difficult. Really difficult. But we'll see what happens, right? So when we think about franchises, do we look at something, say, the size of Star Trek or even Star Wars? I mean, yes, they're franchises, but do we consider them franchises because of how much content they've got, or how many productions they've had with TV shows and movies? I mean, is that why it's called a franchise, or is a franchise simply any good sci-fi that has one or has two or more movies or shows, right? And what makes a franchise? So Babylon 5 had 5 seasons of the show, and how many movies did it have? I mean, the show alone made it a franchise because it went for 5 years, right? So the movies might have not have been that great, but at least the movies stayed true to the format of the show, because obviously the same people made it, so they weren't actually made for the huge screen. They were literally made for TV movies or straight to VHS at the time. As a VHS was being phased out at that point, I think. But yeah, it's just weird how I should not have written it out as favorite sci-fi franchise. Maybe I should have put an S on the end and call it franchises. That might have been better. Might have been a better idea. So yeah, I just really don't like those white bits on my shirt. It's annoying. You may be able to hear Blue purring. That's because he's on my leg now. Hopefully it's not going to be too loud, but we shall see. So let's see. Let's talk about another franchise. Let's talk about Star Wars. Now, with Star Wars, it's different, right? Because you've got the original Star Wars franchise, and then you've got the Disney Star Wars franchise, right? Is that fair to say? I think it's fair to say that since Disney took over, Star Wars has gone in a different direction, if that makes sense, which is true. It has. I mean, you got the sequel trilogy, which a lot of people love, but then a lot of people hate, right? So it's difficult to talk about the sequel trilogy because, well, there's such high opinions of it either way, high or low opinions, I should say, which to me, I liked them, but I didn't like them as Star Wars, if that makes sense. I liked it as a general sci-fi fan, as opposed to me being the Star Wars fan I am. I don't know if that makes any sense. Um, Blue. We This is why people say you should not have a cat when you make YouTube videos. But to be fair, this is the first time he's done it during a live. Normally he's out sleeping somewhere. But yeah. I mean, like I said, I like the sequel trilogy for Star Wars as a sci-fi fan, as a general sci-fi fan. They're enjoyable, but I wouldn't say that they're great Star Wars movies. Simply because I don't agree with a lot of what they do in it, like the Rey being some super Jedi. I don't agree with that, which has carried on into Ahsoka, in my opinion, with Sabine. So, I mean, I don't know what aspect of that I like or hate the most. Now, I loved Rebels. I liked Resistance. The only problem with Resistance was the animation style, I think. Other than that, it was a well-made show. And the fact that it was set in between the sequel movies and leading up to and during the sequel movies, it showed a different side of the Star Wars universe, if you think about it that way, a different era. What else? I'm unscripted, so I'm just going to be talking about stuff, just random things about the franchises. But it's like with Andor, it was slow in middle. At the beginning, it was hard to follow. Then it was slow. Then it was a little better paced towards the end, which meant the ending was so much better than the beginning, which is annoying when it comes to those. And I'm not sure. I'll have to check on this for another video, but I think there might actually be a second season of Andor. But I recently rewatched Andor, and I noticed at the end something I didn't notice before. There's a little scene during the credits that when they were in prison, they were making those things, and they're actually links for the dish for the Death Star, which was something I missed originally, which I didn't realize, which then obviously leads into Rogue One. But the interesting thing is, it was almost finished. It was at the point where we get to it in Rogue One, which was weird, because in Rogue One they were just putting the dish into the Death Star. So at the end of Andor season 1, they were still building the dish itself, which was weird, which was interesting. I can't believe I missed that. But it's like, but with Ahsoka, I mean, I just want to say this about Ahsoka because I think Ahsoka would have done better as being Rebels. The live action. Is it 6th season of Rebels? I can't remember how many seasons there were of Rebels now. Was it 5? I think it was 5. I'll just quickly check that. I think it was 5 seasons of Rebels. I can't be sure. But I'll just open up Disney. It's the easiest way to find out. And take a look. Where are we? I mean, the Mandalorian. I loved Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but then 3 it wasn't the Djarin show anymore. It was the Bo-Katan show, which I don't have a problem with. Bo-Katan is technically a Mandalorian, so right. So it was 4 seasons of Rebels. So yeah, I mean, I reckon it's more likely it's better to say that Ahsoka was season 5 of Rebels, to be honest. It would have been best as a continuation as opposed to what it was, because that would have made sense, in my opinion. Let's see, what else was there? There was what other Star Wars shows were there? I mean, we do have a lot of content for, sorry, a lot of stuff for Star Wars, even the shorts and stuff like that. I mean, like Tales of the Jedi, Young Jedi Adventures. I mean, I haven't watched Young Jedi Adventures. I did watch a couple of episodes, but then I thought, well, it's too kiddie. It's too much for kids for me, and I can't watch it. And I mean, I took a look at least, and yeah, it was definitely new Star Wars. The Bad Batch was good. I like the lead in to Rebels when it comes to it because obviously we have Kanan at the beginning as Order 66 comes in, which was very good. It's a very nice tie-in for them. So yeah, I mean, these franchises are going to be difficult to choose a favorite. I also rewatched Obi-Wan the other week, and I find that Obi-Wan, even Andor, are much better as a streaming show. Well, it's not so much a streaming show, but because they are streaming shows, I should have picked my words differently. But as a weekly show, they weren't that strong. But as a bingeable show, they are much better, much better. I'm going to try and rewatch Ahsoka this week, I think, to see if that's better as a binge show, which I think it will be. Because I think even Mandalorian is technically been made as a bingeable show. I mean, all the ratings that we're seeing for the weekly episodes, I mean, you don't follow that anymore. I mean, it's not like network ratings used to be. So when you rate a streaming show, you shouldn't rate it as a normal thing, because if you go by how many views it gets within the first 2 or 3 days of it being released, that's ridiculous, right? Especially if it's being released midweek when people are working and they don't have time in the evenings to watch it, so they watch it at the weekend, which makes more sense. So how many people would have avoided watching Ahsoka in order to binge watch it once every episode had been released? That's the numbers I'd be more interested in. How many people watched every episode after its release? And that would make sense. So they need to adjust how they rate shows and check the ratings, because they really, really do better as once they've released every episode. So it stands to reason. They had Star Wars Visions, which I don't really like. Star Wars Visions, I know they're like short little stories. Yeah, they're short little stories, but at the same time, their format is so different. There's so many different types of animation and CGI styles that it's just overwhelming. I mean, you had some old school 2-dimensional drawing episodes. Then you had some comic strip style animated ones. Then you had this one where you have little dolls. The formatting was terrible for those, and I don't know how to explain it, to be honest, because they really were badly made. With different format. I mean, it might have been better if they stuck to one specific type of format, in my opinion. Because when they change it for each one, it's just, what the hell are they thinking? Whew. Sorry, it's coming up to 5 to midnight here, so I'm a little bit tired. I'll be all right though. Don't worry. When I was a kid, we had some what is considered vintage Star Wars out. We had that Droids show, because I think in Disney, yeah, I'm looking at it now, and it's the vintage stuff. We have Droids. We also have the Ewok Adventures. The first one I think was Caravan of Courage, and then the second one was the Battle for Endor. But they've added some. I don't remember the animated Ewoks when I was younger, or the Faithful Wookiee. These are all short animated shows. I remember watching the 2D micro series of the Clone Wars. That was like I think they used that as a test to try and see what people's thoughts were on, a Clone Wars show. So that was, I remember that. But the Ewoks animated one, I don't remember that, and the Faithful Wookiee. I haven't seen those, but I'm looking at it now, and I've only just spotted them there. We had the Star Wars Forces of Destiny. I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars content or products or projects, whatever you want to call them. I know a lot of people are trying to avoid using content for stuff online, but that's essentially what they are. It's content on their streaming services. So there's a lot of Star Wars content, which is annoying. But I have hopes for Skeleton Crew, but unfortunately, at the same time, I have a worry that they're ruining it for us because of the direction that Star Wars has been going under Disney. I mean, Disney's a sinking ship right now. I mean, they're losing so much money that they've had to increase the prices in the parks. I mean, that's how bad it is. And people weren't going. They were. It's funny, their excuse for raising the cost of entry and the cost of everything inside the parks is because they didn't have the income they had before. So because less people are going, they're increasing the cost of going there so that they can earn more money from less people, knowing that less people are going. I mean, surely you would want to encourage people to actually go in, regardless, lower the price, give people a reason to go, say, oh, look, it's only like $10, $20 to get in, instead of it being hundreds or something, or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. But everything is going to be so overpriced that, getting in the gate is one thing, but buying something to eat when you're there all day, or staying in a hotel in particular, it's an astronomical cost, and the average family won't be able to afford to go, right? Just like they couldn't really afford to go before, because I mean, in the UK, we don't have any Disney parks. We have to go to Paris. That's the closest Disney park. So unless we spend money and end up going to Florida, is it Florida? It is Florida, isn't it? Disneyland, Florida. Yeah. Is it Florida or California? Anyway, it defeats. It's besides the point. Anyway, it really, really, really makes a difference. And the fact that Universal that's opened that park recently, and they're cheaper to get in and do stuff, but that's besides the point. You'd have to watch other channels for that. But I'm supposed to be talking about franchises. So the franchise is, I think for Star Wars, the franchise is actually saturated too much. And it's a problem that I noticed that Paramount are not making, or stopping themselves from making, with Star Trek, which is another franchise that I like. I mean, I love Star Trek, and Strange New Worlds doesn't stand out to be one of the good ones. Picard season 3 was probably the best live action Trek we've had for a long time. Discovery was meh. All I can say about Discovery, meh. It had its good parts and it had its bad parts. I mean, what can I say? They step all over canon, they piss over canon, they shit over canon, and then they say it, then they claim it's canon. It's just so. I mean, what more can I say? But at least they haven't saturated everything with Star Trek lately. Was it last year when we had one show overlapping each one towards the end? So you'd have like 1 or 2 episodes overlap. So we'd have constant Trek every day, every week for most of the year, right? Now, when they stopped doing that, it was like, oh, so you do all that, and then you piss us all off this year by having months in between or weeks in between. I mean, we haven't even seen season 5 of Discovery yet. You know, it's just we haven't. You know, Discovery season 5 is just there's no release date for it. Where is it? Why aren't we seeing it? I know they want this. I know they were holding it back because people don't like it. But just because people don't like it doesn't mean you hold it back and then don't give us a release date. Give us the release date and let us give you our opinion. You might have the final season of Discovery might be the best season of Discovery ever made. But you're not letting us see it. You need to let us see it. But I mean, yeah, like I said at the beginning, I mean, what makes a franchise a franchise? Does it have to have does it have to have a sequel to the first movie? Or what? I mean, what makes a franchise? Is it the popularity of the show? I mean, the Firefly had 1 season and a movie. Does that make that a franchise? Because I'd say it does, because of how popular it was. What else? Yeah, Terra Nova, that's a franchise. That would be one that I would love to see more of, but they cancelled it. They had a phase at that point where they would always cancel the good ones, like Firefly, Terra Nova. Even in the 90s, they cancelled a lot of the good stuff, like Space Bum Beyond. That was an outstanding show, and they cancelled it. What else was there? There was a lot. I mean, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, that's technically a franchise. That went on for 2 seasons. So yeah, but the second season was technically more of a spin-off, but it had Buck Rogers in it. So Buck Rogers and the Hawkman. What else? There was obviously there was Knight Rider. That's a franchise. The A-Team, that was a franchise, but technically that was action, not sci-fi, which is interesting. Blue Thunder, that had a TV show after the movie, so that would technically be a franchise, right? So there's so many franchises that it's hard to pick which one is the best one. Falling Skies, that was good. Lost in Space, even on Netflix, that deserves more. The Expanse, so, and even The Orville. I want to see more Orville, but the likelihood is minimal that there will be another season of The Orville, which is a shame because I think it did very well, and I think it will do very well if they continue. And yeah, so what can I say is my favorite franchise? It's difficult to say. It really is difficult to say. I mean, even if I say I've got 3 of my favorite franchises, I can't put them in a specific order. But as it stands, I mean, I'd say my favorite 2 franchises are most likely Stargate and Babylon 5. To be honest, Babylon 5 and Stargate are my 2 favorite franchises. So, and there's no particular order to those 2. They'll move about like crazy, especially considering that we're getting new content from both. So we're getting new Stargate and we're getting new Babylon 5. So it's hard to say which one of the 2 would be my absolute favorite. But we'll see what the new Stargate and the new Babylon 5 has to offer. And yeah, hopefully some of you guys will agree. I say people or guys, women, late, whatever the case may be. So yeah. Now I know I started this a bit late, and I've had my cat, messing around on here, which is the first time for everything, I guess. Looks like we do have at least one person watching. So I mean, if you'll comment in the comment and let us know who you are, ask me a question. The floor is open. I watched Gen V yesterday, and yeah, interesting, I suppose. I haven't been keeping up with Lower Decks. I've been a little bit disappointed with this season of Lower Decks, to be honest. I think I've got two episodes to watch before I catch up, so I might watch those later and see what happens. I do have a video to make for tomorrow. I'll probably make that in the morning, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's just, I don't know. But anyway, that video is going to be interesting. Looks like I've lost the one viewer that's been watching most of this video. Oh well. So, there are a lot of interesting things I could talk about with franchises, but seeing as I've got no one watching this at the moment, and hopefully I'll have more people watching later. But if you like this video, if you like this, guys, please hit that thumbs up, give us that like, hit the subscribe button. This really helps us out with the algorithm. Let's YouTube show my content to other people and widely spread. So yeah, comment down below any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions, and hopefully we'll see you again soon, guys. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and may the Schwartz be with you always.